The man in charge of the VCU basketball program, Mike Rhoades, is with us. I'm Brian Fenley with Fox Sports Radio. Mike, an absolute pleasure to have you. The question that I've been thinking about a lot the last couple of days, Mike, is who's better at basketball, your son or Richmond head coach Chris Mooney's son?
Well, I think they're, you know what, they're really good together. Let's put it that way. At 12 years old, the two of them playing on the same team, I think they're having a lot of fun. I know both of them. Coach Mooney and I have talked about them. They both love the game, which is great for a coach's son to love the game. But they both love it. But they're a pretty good backcourt, and it's pretty neat when he and I are sitting there, we're talking shop, and we're watching our boys play. So pretty cool.
The fascinating dynamic there is you two are so competitive in that rivalry in that same city, and here you
Yeah.
are just casually talking about basketball and sharing and swapping stories and having your sons play with each other on the court. What is that like? Because that is such a unique experience. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to the game. You know, you love the game, and you get to share it with your kids. And of course, we're going to compete, and we both want to win, and we want our programs to succeed. But it's also the other side of it too, Brian. I want them to succeed, because if basketball in the city of Richmond is at a high level, not just at VCU, but at the University of Richmond and all through the city in so many ways, it makes the city of Richmond a basketball city. I love that. So it just happens to be that uh, when Danny and Chase's dads are in the stands, they happen to be the coaches at VCU and Richmond respectively. But that's how it goes. But that's the fun part about being a dad, and we get to share that with our kids. We get to share the game of basketball with our kids, and when it's crazy. Our schedules, as you know, basketball coaches' schedules are all over the place. But if we can get to our sons' games, you become a dad, and you're not a coach. You sit there and you're a dad, and that's a lot of fun.
Considering your schedule the last 5 months and everything that's been going on, how has your coaching style or the way in which you operate improved over these last 5 months in a way which you might have never imagined?
Well, the number one thing that I did, we were 20 seconds away from playing UMass in the A10 tournament in Barclays, and 20 seconds from tipping it off, and everything was cut. I mean, the game was taken away from you and your team, and then you're exactly right. 5 months of what do we do now? And I really went back and re-examined everything we did in our program. For us personally, as a coach, we were 17-6 at one point in the year. Everybody in the country talking about seeding for VCU, and then the wheels fell off. We had a lot of injuries. We had a lot of illnesses throughout the year that really affected us. And in the end of the year, our wheels fell off, and we had a really, really rough ending of the season. So we went back and re-examined everything in our program. You don't get to always do that as a college basketball coach, because it's on to the next thing. But everything slowed down, and I was home with my family. But a lot of that time I spent on re-examining our program, every nut and bolt about it, and how can we get better? How can we make sure this doesn't happen again, and go about it that way?
How are you not too hard on yourself when you do that? Because as a coach, I'm sure you're always looking at how every different thing went and maybe over analyzing, and that could be taxing on you. But at one point, you just have to say, hey, this is what happened. We're going to have to learn from this and not beat yourself up inside too much.
Well, I don't know if I have the answer for that, and I don't have enough degrees to explain that. I probably, one of my faults is that I blame myself too much, and I don't want to let everybody down around the program, starting with our players. So you, as a coach, so I think sometimes you really do beat yourself up, and maybe you shouldn't, but you do. It's how much you care. It's who we are. It's what we do. But the 5 months, there's a lot of re-examining of our program and how we do things to make it better. But also for me too, I think I've had some great growth for me. Not the last 5 months, but we had a number of months there where it's the first time in 24 years things slowed down to me, and I couldn't go on to the next thing involving the job of being a basketball coach. So I said it's somewhat like having a sabbatical, and sometimes you can just sort of unwind and look back and reevaluate a lot of things. And I did do that. And, there's some growth inside of me that I'm excited to share and show off with our program as we move forward.
VCU head coach Mike Rhoades is with us. I'm Brian Fenley with Fox Sports Radio. One way where you will not need to be beating yourself up is the fact that despite the coaching turnover at VCU, you and others before you, your predecessors, have always kept this standard of excellence, this winning culture, which I find so unique and so special, because it's not just one coach, he leaves, and then it's the program trying to get back to that state at which it was. It's no matter who's at the helm, you guys do a fantastic job of just holding that high standard. Why do you think VCU and yourself able to plug in and just do that and keep that standard of excellence that is so unique despite all the coaching turnover?
Well, number one, it's the players that are in the program, and there's been so many, but I really believe that the coaches and the players that help recruit. I think we've always found that VCU, long before I even got there with Coach Smart in 2009, you find guys that fit the mold of a VCU player, a hard nosed guy that lives in the gym, a guy that's super ultra competitive. I think that has been a moniker of a VCU player for a long time, and I think coaches have understood that. I've totally understood that. Let's find guys that have that competitive edge, that chip on their shoulder, like so many other VCU players who turned into very successful college players. So that's number one. I think the support, not just of the university and administration, but the support of the city has made it a big deal. We have 152 consecutive sellouts. That means not just VCU alums or VCU donors, but the city of Richmond have really embraced VCU. I think our style of play really helps, where it's an aggressive style of play on both sides of the court, where we're attacking, where it's a fun, entertaining style to watch. I think recruits like that. I think fans like that, so they want to be a part of that. And then I also think that the administrators have hired coaches that are forward-thinking, that put the program first. That's one thing I learned watching the program for a long time, and then, of course, being a part of Coach Smart's staff and fortunate to be the head coach is surround yourself with some awesome people, great staff, great administrators, great support people, and that really builds the program. I think those are some things that have always been staples at VCU.
When you were on Coach Smart's staff in 2011, there was that fantastic, just incredible run to the Final Four. You were on that staff. How much credit are you taking for that? Because you brought in a lot of those guys. You were an important part of the recruiting.
No, I'm not taking any. I was just a part of something that was a lot of fun, Brian. Honestly, I had so much fun working at VCU every day, and I would have said the same thing and I will say it, if we didn't get to the Final Four. I was a head coach for 10 years, and then, in my mid-30s, I go and take an assistant job, and people thought I was crazy, and I think it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, not just in my career, but in my life. It was so much fun, building a relationship with assistants like Mike Jones and Will Wade and Mike Morrell, Jeremy Ballard. I mean, it was so much fun, and then the relationship and working for and with Shaka Smart. I learned a lot every day, but I was also able to share too in my experiences, and I think we all just chipped in. And the neat thing about those 5 years I worked for Coach Smart, I learned something all the time, but he also allowed us all to coach
Oh,
and prepare yourself to be head coaches. So I was already a head coach for 10 years, but he allowed me to sort of, reshape, if I ever become a head coach again, reshape some things in my head coaching acumen. And I love that part of it. That was so much fun. And of course, winning helps, and winning big and winning on a big stage makes it even better. And then my family was a part of it. I had 3 young children at the time, and Jody and I, Coach Smart had us involved in the program, and we made road trips with our team, and that was so much fun. So that experience has everything to do with where I'm at today, and I have great appreciation for it.
you were 25 when you got your first head coaching job, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. What would it have been like, say, a 25-year-old Mike Rhoades leading VCU? Just picturing that. How would your perspective on coaching contrast to what it is today?
Oh, well, I think me at 25 as a head coach at that level, there have been a lot of trial and error, just like there was at Randolph-Macon. I would have been all in. You learn on the fly at 25, 26, 27. You just do. You have no choice. I was glad to be cutting my teeth at a place like Randolph-Macon, where we were winning, and we were winning big, and we were moving the program further along, which which was really cool. But there was so many things I was learning on the way. I think gets magnified at a place like VCU or a higher level. And, I think experience is your greatest teacher. I was ready. I was ready further years down the road to take over another program like I did at Rice when as I got to be in my 40s. But, I don't know about 25 at VCU. I'm not saying it would have swallowed me up, but there have been a lot of interesting days.
Well, you've had the opportunity the last couple weeks to get back with your players and get some work in, the workouts, some practices. What has that dynamic been like? Trying to create it seems like a bubble, as you've talked about, and doing it in a way where you're trying to obviously be safe, but also just having your guys back, and just what a morale boosting experience that must be for you, coach, after all of these weeks and months where we're all just waiting for basketball to return and you're waiting for your guys to be back, and now you can be with them.
Yeah, well, number one is I just really I missed the environment of being around the players all the time. And I don't mean just on the court, but knowing that you have your team on campus with you, running into them on their way to a class or on their way to the weight room or getting in the gym to get shots up. I really missed that. I was fiending for that. Now, we were fortunate at VCU. We got our guys back June 5th. They came back, and we did create somewhat of a bubble on campus since we were the only people there. So that allowed guys to have access to our practice facility and our weight room. And then they were doing online summer classes, but they were on campus doing that. So I think some guys really responded in such a positive way to that. So I got my fill of the guys then. Of course, July 20th, we were allowed to get in the court. To me, it was like Christmas. It was like Christmas morning. It really was. Our staff, you could tell, getting closer to the 20th of July, our staff was getting a little fired up around the office, and that was really neat. And we always talk, one of our core values in our program is appreciation, about having great appreciation for what we do. And man, that appreciation was really, you could see it. You could see it on our staff. You could see it on the players that, hey, we can get back in the gym as a team and sweat together and go to work. So it's been great. And of course, we're back on campus for class now. And our guys have done a good job. They're 18 to 22-year-olds just like everybody else. So they're not perfect, but they're trying to follow the plan that we have, the protocol we have in place, so we can, number one, be a team and get better. Number two is try to become the best player you can be by doing things the right way. And then the third thing is, basketball teams need to be together, and let's enjoy being together and working hard together and having fun and bonding. And we're going to continue to work on that. So it's been fun having the guys back for
if
sure.
if any player ever took that time together with the players and his teammates for granted, I don't think that's ever going to happen again. Having everybody.
You're exactly right.
Yeah. And I found it very, very cool as well, Coach, to hear what Ed McLaughlin said, VCU's vice president and director of athletics. I was checking out a couple articles on him and just what he was thinking about a fact of like creating this bubble environment, for getting games going. And he said,
Yeah.
look, we have the arenas, we have the practice facilities. We can do this as far as a bubble for conference and non-conference. But I just love the optimism, and I love the problem solving that you guys are all about, and making sure that, man, we're going to have basketball. It's going to happen. And I would love to hear what you think about just the
Yeah.
ability to pull this off.
Well, first of all, if there's going to be college basketball in this country, VCU is going to be a part of it. I mean,
Amen.
that's just who we are.
Yes.
That's what we want to do, and if we have to be at the forefront of that, led by our director of athletics, Ed McLaughlin, so be it. And he's a great leader, and he has the fortitude and the approach to do it. So let's give it a try. We all want to play. Number one is the safety and the wellness of our players. We all know that, and I'm proud of what we've done this summer to make sure everybody knows that's priority number one on our list, and we walk that. Now, if it's time to start playing games, we want to be a part of that, but we also want to do it in a smart environment, in a smart way and in a healthy environment. And I think our director of athletics is taking that approach. Well, let's look into it. Let's see how we can do this, and if we can do it, we want VCU involved in it. And that's the fun part about being at VCU. We all want to play, and we all want to do it the right way. And let's lead from the front and do it.
It's going to happen. I love how cutting edge you guys are as far as finding ideas and looking at different options to make it happen, which it will. One of your stars, I know you have a very different roster from last year. You had a lot of really key upperclassmen from a season ago, and now you've got the influx of a couple transfers, but also some youngsters. One, Bones Hyland, a man who made more three-pointers last season than any freshman in school history. He started a lot of games at the end of the season a year ago, and you could just see his stock rising. How much better do you think he's going to be this year? He already showed so much in his freshman year too.
Well, his role has changed. I mean, really, in the last 7, 8, 9 games of the season last year, is probably our best player. We just had so many injuries and illnesses that really affected us late in the year. And we had to throw Bones into the fire, and he really responded. And the next step is he's worked really hard this offseason. He's gotten a little bit bigger. He's gotten stronger. Now, can he lead his team? Can he make his teammates better and make his team win? That's the next question of and I always say that's the question of VCU guards. Can you impact winning at a high level? That's the next challenge for Bones. But loves basketball, loves to be in the gym, loves to compete. I think those are some attributes you need to have to be a winning college basketball player, and he definitely has them. Now it's maturity, just like any freshman to sophomore. Can you take the next step, and can you mature into a leading role and impact winning? And I'm excited. In my 24 years, I'm not sure I've ever coached a kid that loves basketball as much as he does. He loves it like a little kid going to the playground, and I think that's a special trait. Everybody talks about having trainers and working and organizing your day. For Bones, he just wants to go to the gym and hoop, and he wants to go to the gym and work out and play. And his love for the game, I think, that translates to a lot of things in our program. And we want to continue that. We want other guys to feel that way too. But it could be a special player for us. We're just going to need him to keep maturing.
Beyond him, who else do you look at and say, gosh, this guy is really putting in the work this summer and is going to take a prominent role on this team, one which maybe he did not have last year?
Yeah, well, Corey Douglas is our fifth-year senior. Corey was hurt most of last year, and then we had to shut him down for the last third of the season. The year before, he was such an anchor for, especially defensively, and his approach. He leads by example. He's an unbelievable young man in graduate school right now. But lead by example. He's got to be an unbelievable leader, and then stay healthy. He can really anchor our defense, and that's something 2 years ago that was huge in our program. So we need a big year from him. And then Vince Williams, one of our juniors from Toledo, Ohio. Vince struggled last year with some injuries, and then he missed the last few games of the season with an Achilles injury. I thought he's had a great summer. Thought he's played very well since we've been back on the court and going live. Really, have high expectations for Vince. Has a great feel how to play. So his role the last 2 years have always, has evolved. Now it's going to evolve into being a leader and producing on the court. So we really need him to step up, but I thought he's had a great summer. Keyshawn Curry, who gave us some great moments last year, coming off the bench and backing up a bunch of seniors. Now, it's his turn to shine, and we really need him to lead by example as well, but really produce. And then we have a group of young players, freshmen and sophomores. We lost 6 players. We have 6 players that graduated and moved on, and they were the bulk of the program the last 2 years. So we're going to have a lot of new faces, but I think we have a very talented freshman class. And then I had led by Bones in the sophomore class. I think some of those guys, Hassan Ward and Jared McAllister, and of course Trey Clark, who gave us some great moments late last year. Those guys, they're going to have to step up. But that's the fun thing about being a VCU. That's sort of the mantra we've always had. Who's next? Who's stepping up?
There must be some really fun moments with this group, and where you can go back and say, even just during your interactions with the players in the summer, where they made you laugh, or you had the biggest
Oh, yeah.
smile. So I wanted to ask you, kind of wrapping up here with Mike Rhoades, head coach for VCU. I'm Brian Fenley, and again, coach, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, you bet. Thank you.
This was a total blast. Was when recently on the court, specifically, like a concrete example, do you remember a player making you smile, making you laugh, making you just remember how much you love this game?
Yeah, I've shot a lot with our guys since July 20th, and getting extra shots up on here and there. But I've been doing this free throw competition with Ace Baldwin, because I always say point guards got to be great free throw shooters. So, if you swish it, you get 2. If you miss it, if you make it, you get 1 if it hits the rim. But if you miss it, you go back to -2. And we played at 21 points. And just with a freshman guard, and he and I play against each other and have had these battles. And the reason I say that, and we've done it with other guys as well, it just reminded me of why you're in the gym all the time, because you love it. And in these crazy times with all the craziness going on in the world, which is different for especially the young guys, you get back. Why do you go in the gym every day? Because you love basketball. Sometime as a kid, you just fell in love with something that is bigger than yourself. And I've had these moments with Ace and a couple other guys, Bones and Trey Clark and Jaron, and just being in the gym with them and having some fun with them. Man, this is why we do it. We love the game of basketball, and that's sort of been really fun this summer. And really now, as we get back to school, like we walk in the gym, and I'm as excited as I've ever been being with these guys. I like the vibe of this team. We're going to be young. We're going to take some licks here and there, but we're going to continue to improve. And a lot of it is because of the love of the game that these guys have.
Basketball is an escape. It is a refuge. And what an unrivaled environment playing in front of your fans at VCU. You can't really get a better basketball environment, as you know, Coach.
No, 152 consecutive sellouts, unbelievable fans. The best thing about our VCU fans, as much as they want to win, as much as they love the black and gold of VCU, they are so supportive of our players on and off the court. They look after them, and it is a love affair. And our appreciation for them is so great. That's why I love the city of Richmond, and our players do as well.
And the players and the city loves you right back. Mike Rhoades, VCU head coach. I'm Brian Fenley. Thanks so much for doing this. Excited to see how you guys mold into this new group and dominate on the court in the coming months.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.